Maybe I was pretending to be a good husband. I was pretending to be a good father. It's not what I'm good at. What I'm good at is chaos. You put me in a fight, you put me in a bar brawl or a gunfight, I may not win, but I'm gonna hold my own. You know, I thrive at that chaos. But imposter syndrome, or I don't know. I sit down at my kitchen table, they leave, and maybe 10 minutes into breakfast, it sounded like an audible voice out of nowhere for the first time in my life that was like, you're a worthless piece of shit. You should kill yourself. I agreed wholeheartedly with it. And I started to like make the move of like, well, I know my pistol is sitting by my nightstand. I got up and then I just sat down. I was like, no, dude, what is happening? I've been through really tough times that I didn't have that level of suicidal ideations. It was not just emotionally strange and different for me, but it was also like, why is this happening? Why would I want to kill myself right now? Look at everything that I have going for me. This is arguably one of the best times of my life.
Do you think that maybe you felt like you just didn't deserve that?
Went and saw a therapist for the first time. They asked me a question of, would it be okay with you if you were not okay? Mm-hmm. And like, completely caught me off guard. Yeah. Tears started running down my face and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I was not okay with it. I was uncomfortable. I was embarrassed to admit that something was wrong. It bugged me to admit that I wasn't okay. It bugged me to say, hey, I'm not ready to do some of the things that I'm doing. Mm. You know, I can't rescue people while I am also in need of rescuing.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Resilience Show. I am, if you notice, the studio's a little bit different. I am in my home office right now, still in Texas, but in my home office. Our Resilience studio, which is in the Mighty Oaks headquarters for Mighty Oaks Foundation, is under construction because we are actually getting our international or global headquarters built for Mighty Oaks right now. So we're going to be a couple of weeks out of the studio. We'll be here. We'll be at Smith & Wesson's studio in Maryville, Tennessee. We're going to be in Madison, Wisconsin at Vortex's studio. Several other places, including Ironclad and Virginia Beach. A couple of churches that are going to be hosting us. But for today, we're in my house. And it's my bookshelf in the back. And I am here with my friend, Colton Hill. Colton is a former United States Marine, so we're brother Marines, and he's also transitioned from the Marine Corps, went over to the Army, became a Special Forces Green Beret, 18 Bravo weapons sergeant, yep. And had over 18 years of service, and yeah. Through that 6 deployments, including Afghanistan. And yep. Now you're the outreach director. Yep. For Core Medical Group. So
yeah, and I also run our the Core Medical Foundation as well. But yeah, man, thanks for having me here. It's great to be here.
So. Yeah, last night Colton came in early, and we both love grappling, and so we got to get on the mats.
Got absolutely wrecked by Chad. So it was a lot of fun. Great gym too.
Well, Colton is a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu, but you're lifelong grappler, wrestler.
Yeah, I've got a little wrestling background, so I know that if I can create a scramble and make it a wrestling match, it'll give me a little time. that
combined with your powerlifting experience.
Yeah.
Right when we tied up, I'm like, oh, this is some good wrestling here.
Yeah. Man, I had a great time at the gym. That's one of the things that I love about jiu-jitsu is it's really hard to have an ego. Yeah. You know, there's nothing you can do. People have been doing this for longer. They're further into the game. And man, I texted a bunch of my buddies after we got done. I'm like, dude, Chad's sweeps are incredible. Like, you're like, oh, finally I got to a dominant position. And then Chad's like, well, you had a dominant position. I really enjoyed it. It's always fun seeing someone else's a different aspect of the game. Yeah. You constantly improving, constantly finding people better than you to push yourself. And last night I found a bunch of people better than me.
Yeah. Did you go with that purple belt? He's kind of like quiet, like real.
Yeah. Got to roll with him. That was a fun roll, man.
Yeah. He's
a lot of really technical grapplers. Yeah. Grapplers. It was a really fun, you could feel, I kind of jokingly said it last night after we left and went to dinner. I was like, when I grab your collar, you're like, oh, okay, he's got a hold of my collar. When you grab my collar, I'm like, I know that that's there for a reason. That feels intentional and I don't like it. But man, a lot of just which I don't train a lot in the gi to begin with. I enjoy it, but I spend most of my time in no gi because it's more fun for me. And every time I go back to the gi, I'm always impressed with people's ability to incorporate deceit and deception, like just the way that the efficiency of movement. And hey, if you're more athletic than me, let me get some good grips and slow it way down.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's always
it's really fun. It brings a technical aspect. I will say that why you didn't tap me out. I almost got tapped out for the first time in many years with the mother's milk. You almost got me, man. I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble right now. And I heard you laugh.
So anybody who's rolled with me knows that I'm like talking trash the whole time I roll. I'm laughing like, man, what? Oh God. What was the instructor's name?
Jarrett.
Yeah. Rolling with Jarrett. He's rolling on. He's like, what's that? And I was like, oh, I said no regrets. Like I just accidentally gave up my back, but no regrets. I'm constantly like, I like to have fun when I'm doing jiu-jitsu. It's just an awesome way to clear my mind, honestly.
It is. You talked about that last night. And I mean, so my gym where we're trained at Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, it's the Carlson Gracie Southern headquarters right here in Conroe, Texas. And Jared Chafee is one of my students, white belt through black belt, my student, and just a great friend of mine. And he's a really fun role. But we one of the things we were talking about while we were there yesterday is that we both love about jiu-jitsu is when you go there, it doesn't matter what was going on in your workday, your family, your life, like as soon as you step on those mats, you have to be mentally present.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this too, but like, man, I did a lot of powerlifting. Physical fitness has always been a major role in my life. Like even in high school, I was into, MMA and kickboxing, and I boxed before I did anything else. And then I wrestled, and I've loved martial arts. I've loved the sport, but I got really big into powerlifting, like picking up heavy things and putting them down and being like, not many people on this planet can pick that up.
You even did Ironman as a smaller guy.
I did a strongman competition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strongman, yeah.
At like 200 pounds, I was doing some strongman competition. It's just fun.
Yeah.
I did some CrossFit competitions, not because I was doing CrossFit, just to see where I'd measure up in that group. But I love physical fitness and I love martial arts. But man, nowadays when I get in the gym, number one, my body's broken. It hurts. I'm going through my medical retirement process right now, and I've got a lot of aches and pains that probably aren't going away anytime soon. But that's not going to stop. I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm still going to pursue physical fitness, especially coming from the Marine Corps. I feel like a lot of people in the Marine Corps, their self-worth even is like tied a little bit to their physical ability.
Yeah, sure.
It's just ingrained in us to be in good shape.
Yeah. I'm 50 years old. And if I get on a pull-up bar and I did less than 20 pull-ups,
I'm upset.
I will be upset. Yeah. I will be on that pull-up bar every day until
I want to tell a funny story about that. The day I got out of SEER school, they give you this speech and like, don't be upset. Your testosterone is plummeted. I lost like 30 pounds at SEER school in 3 weeks, but they're like, don't be upset if you can't have sex with your wife tonight because your testosterone's not what it was and your hormones are all jacked up. Don't be surprised. Don't go to the gym. Well, I was like, I didn't even go home. Yeah. I went straight from there to the gym. I was like, oh man, I got my gym bag in there. Yeah. I'll just do some light stuff. Yeah. I jumped up on a pull-up bar and did 8 pull-ups and failed on my 9th. And I was like, oh, I was not ready for this. I'm going home, dude. Yeah. I don't need to be here. But yeah, if I don't get 20 pull-ups, then I'm upset with myself. I'm like, dude, what have you been doing? But no, getting back to grappling, man. Nowadays, going to the gym, I've got headphones on that are tied to my phone. My phone's going off. It doesn't matter how early I get in there. I'm getting emails or text messages or phone calls now, it seems like, and I can't be present. I'm worried about work or the kids or my wife or something else we got going on at home, or another project. But when you get into grappling, I got to take my Bluetooth watch off. I got no headphones in. I've got no phone. I've got 0 notifications, and I'm just in the right here, right now. Hey, this 50-year-old man is trying to take me down, and I would like to not get taken down. Yeah. This guy's going to choke me out, and I would really like to not get choked out, and maybe even try to do the choking if I can. It's just, you're completely in the present. And there is a form of therapy to that, to me. It is no matter how hard it is on my body, I will always continue to go to jiu-jitsu because I see a difference in my like mental state throughout the week. Did I train this week or not? And I can tell like my mental performance.
Well, your mental state will also would change the dynamics to your physical state, right?
Oh,
because
for sure.
If you're not in the right mental state,
It all starts there.
It all starts there, right? Yeah. So it's part of the, the show, resilient show, right? Mind, body, social, fit, spirit. You have to have all of those pillars.
In fact, so I work for Core Medical Group, and our CEO is Sidney Gordon, and he talks a lot. When he started Core Medical Group, the people that he hired as his first employees were all people from a jiu-jitsu gym. Mm-hmm. And he's like, the reason why is I know that they know what hard work is, and they come to work every day or come to a jiu-jitsu class every day. They suck. They get beat up. Doesn't matter who you are. When you get started, you're going to suck. The first 6 months to a year of jiu-jitsu is just an ego check. It really is. It's like,
and if you
thought you'd just see red and win a fist fight. Well, like that's not true against a trained opponent. But when he's like, I know that these guys can show up day after day and be bad at something and put their head down and put in the work until they're good. He's like, so he started off with all these like brown and black belts in jiu-jitsu. That's like one of his criteria for looking for people to hire was always like team sports and physical labor. But it kind of started with jiu-jitsu because it is, I mean, you are going to suck at this and you're going to show up, put your head down, get focused and just continue to try to get better every day. Excuse me.
Are they all at that gym that because you have a really great instructor. You're under really good.
Yeah. So no, my home gym, it is SMAA Soul Fighters out of Bossier City, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Wayne Nudinson is our instructor. But no, Sydney's based out of Florida, out in Boca Raton.
Oh, there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys there.
Yeah. Wagner Roca. There's a bunch of amazing gyms. Killcliff facility is there. Yeah. There's a bunch of amazing gyms there. I've had Manny. I've been to a bunch of those gyms in that area. I travel there for work pretty often. I always try to go get a roll in when I can. But yeah, no, I'm out of Bossier City, Louisiana. And we've got it's an interesting community to have. Martial arts is always awesome. It's always a different environment, especially jiu-jitsu, I think, because you'll have cops and you'll have, a guy that smokes weed. He smells like weed, right?
You got a guy with an ankle bracelet on.
Yeah.
Training jiu-jitsu.
And they're talking to each other. Like it brings every walk of life, every background in there. People that wouldn't be friends outside of this community are now friends. Yeah. I love it. But I've got a really good home with SMAA, even though I am very rarely there.
This is actually one of my favorite things about jiu-jitsu. I had this like kind of light bulb moment one time. It was years ago. We're sitting down after jiu-jitsu, slow Mexican restaurant, and we're having dinner. And at the table was like an oil field exec. There was a guy who was from Colombia that had a little home painting company. Yeah. They had a guy with an ankle bracelet on. They had a U.S. customs agent, like a doctor, like people, like you said, that would have no commonalities or friendships outside of the gym, but they're all sitting together, not doing jiu-jitsu, having dinner and having a good time. Yeah. But it was jiu-jitsu that brought those people together. Man, it always, because it breaks down the barriers, I think, like you meet someone, you grapple with them. Man, I've read Hickson Gracie's book, Breathe, and I'm kind of a believer in some of that stuff of like, you'll find out about who someone really is when you roll with them. Yeah. I can put on a front. I can pretend to be some tough guy. I can pretend that I am comfortable in uncomfortable situations. But when you roll with someone, you'll feel, are you really? Are you timid? Are you too aggressive? And you're going to do some stupid things and get yourself caught, which happens to me all the time. It does. But win or lose, though, it's the grappling really reveals character. Reveals a personality and character. It comes out. That aspect of it, I think it just removes, it kind of like washes away any like reservations of opening up or talking to someone. Like you just did this thing, you kind of learned about each other without talking to each other. So it creates a pretty quick connection. And then afterwards, my wife is always, I'm like, I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu. It's an hour-long class. I'll be back in an hour and a half. And she's like, I'll see you in 3 hours. Because every time, you get done rolling and then everybody wants to talk, especially
when I'm inconsistent at my own gym. So I show up and I haven't been there in a month. I've been training at random places all over. And then I'm seeing people I haven't seen in a month and we're catching up. And it's, I'm a social creature, you know, I eat that up. So it's always interesting at jiu-jitsu, every walk of life and everybody's hanging out. It turns into I've never been to a jiu-jitsu gym that it doesn't happen that way. Yeah. Class ends and then everybody wants to talk and learn more.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. Same here. And I enjoy that about it.
Yeah.
I was telling someone you were on the podcast yesterday and they were asking about you. They were trying to look you up and, you know, you're in. I was just like, Colton's one of those guys, like right when I met him, I'm like, because Cody Alfred introduced us and he vouched, he's like, he's awesome dude. You're going to love him. And right away when I met you, I'm like, man, this is like one year incredible background, but I'm like, this is like a dude I could just be like, I want to be his friend. Like I really, and I mean that, like, I got like a few guys in my life, you know, a lot of people, like a few guys in my life that are just like these just amazing humans that I just love being their friend. Jared's one of them. Met Jared yesterday, Rob Johnson, you know, a couple of others, but you're just like that kind of guy that's just like just a great human being.
Thank you, man. And, I really appreciate it. Honestly, I feel the same way about you. And I'm not you know, a lot of the people that I've met with you are kind of like, they're big into social media. Mm-hmm. They have a big following and a big audience. And honestly, man, that's not me. I'm terrible at social media. I never had aspirations to come on a podcast and talk to people. To be real honest with you, I feel like I've been praying a lot about it, but I feel like, you know, Moses had a speech impediment. Mm-hmm. I'm like, God, why would you want me to go on a podcast? Like, what do I have? I have a lot of self-doubt that I fight a lot and a lot of imposter syndrome stuff, but coming onto a podcast is not something that I like want to do or really enjoy doing even. But I do believe that God has like given me a calling to do this in some regard. But man, when we met, I was very intimidated because I'm not, you know, I don't have the fame or notoriety, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Like Cody does even, or like you do, but meeting you guys, immediately, like when we met, I was like, man, what a solid dude. Like what a super stand-up guy. And I feel like we connected pretty deeply on the first couple of engagements that we met. Yeah. And I love Cody Alfred. I'm so thankful for that dude.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, man. Cause I said, you know, it's mutual. And, I think there's a lot of common threads that we have. But I want to talk about some of those, like, you know, but you mentioned something that imposter syndrome. Why do you think it is? Because I didn't even know what that was until I went on Sean Ryan, and people heard me like being vulnerable and talking. And I've spoke many times before. I've been on tons of podcasts, but Sean Ryan had really touched something different in the way he interviewed me, and I talked about a lot of things that was super vulnerable about that being a battle for me throughout my life, which has probably pushed me to actually try to do more. And somebody came up to me after and said, man, you ever heard of imposter syndrome? Like you're really dealing with it. And I wonder why I've dealt with that. Guys like you who have done so much deal with this thing of imposter syndrome.
So first I want to say, man, I meet a lot of veterans and especially with like the Core Medical Foundation, every veteran that I meet that's like not a special operations guy, they always belittle their service a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm sure you're familiar. Oh, yeah. I didn't do anything crazy like you did. Oh, you know what? Like Cody Alfred once said that to me. And I was like, what? Cody, I've never been shot in the helmet, dude. What do you think? Our careers are not the same. Like you have way more combat experience than me. Like my career is not more glorious than yours. I think it's a lot of us deal with it and a lot of us struggle with it. We belittle what we've done. No matter what I've accomplished in my life, that will always never be enough to me for whatever reason. But I look at your accomplishments and I'm like, God, dude, I wish I could have done something. And I think we all do that. You know, comparison is the thief of joy. But I also think at the same time, and this is kind of maybe getting a little bit deeper, but the greatest lie that the devil ever told was to convince the world that he's not real. Mm-hmm. I think that little voice is not you. I think that it's not me. That's not my subconscious telling me that I'm not enough or that I'm not good enough.
Right.
It's the devil trying to win that battle and say, if I can convince him that he's convincing himself that he's not worth it, or that he's not good enough, or that he's not, I shouldn't be on this podcast because look at all my faults and failures. If I can do that, then I don't reach the people and share my story and get a chance to be vulnerable and maybe affect lives and change lives.
Right.
And so we
concede to that lie.
It's like self-selecting.
Yeah.
We see it all the time in special operations. Like guys that were way better than me that quit because they convinced themselves that they weren't right for this job, or it's that same voice, which in my opinion is that a spirit whispering into your ear telling you, hey, you're not enough.
It's a spiritual warfare tactic to take you out of the fight.
I think it's
very strategic, right?
Yeah. And it's not an evil spirit. It's not the devil. It's just me. That's all it is. That's the way I've always been. And sometimes I say that and believe it. And sometimes, I'm like, no, that's just the way I am.
Well, when you say it, when I say it, and I've said the same thing before, it's like, okay, that makes sense. This is strategic on a spiritual level to take me out of the fight so I can't be an impact and be a world changer, because God created me to be a world changer and a kingdom builder. Yeah. And I need to be able to, in order to be a world changer and kingdom builder, I need to communicate.
Yeah. Man, I've seen you do speaking engagements. In fact, I have SF buddies of mine that I like. They hit me up seeing me post on social media that we were together when we were filming some stuff for the TV show. And they were like, man, I've heard him speak so many times. Like I listened to his YouTube sermons and all these different things. But they send me these massive messages about how the impact that you've had on their life and how it's cool that, randomly they see me and you together. But if the devil can beat that to where he stops you from doing that, like that's what winning looks like for the other side, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to get too spiritual, but
no, but it's true though. We live in a spiritual world.
I've convinced myself, that the snake didn't whisper to Eve. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't to eat the apple. You know what I mean? Like it was probably her. It sounded like her own voice in her head. Yeah. I'm like, well, it's not that. It's that same whisper is still happening today. The leaders. Men being the man that they're called to be is happening less and less frequently, in my opinion. And I think a lot of it is that voice, a lot of that self-doubt, a lot of and dude, it's so easy to sit here and tell you, oh, this is what you got to do. But I don't have all the answers. I still struggle with it all the time. I called a buddy on my way here to do this podcast and told him, hey man, I'm struggling with this and I just want you to say a prayer for me. And for whatever reason, I'll just spit everywhere. But I'm like, man, for whatever reason, it's really bugging me today. And I can't shake it. Will you say a prayer for me? I'm going into this podcast and I want it to go well. But also from the other side, I see a lot of people do podcasts and I sit at home and I watch them. I've seen your podcast quite a bit. And I always think, man, look how confident this dude is on this show. I wish that I came across that way.
No, you are right now, man.
But it kind of just gives you like a frame of reference of like, we're comparing ourselves to others rather than trying to be who we're supposed to be.
Right. Well, I think, one of the reasons you and I clicked is a lot of commonalities. One, we're both from Louisiana. Different parts of Louisiana, but we're both from Louisiana. Both grew up there and you joined the Marine Corps in 2008. Yeah. And as an infantryman. Yep. So I guess, how'd you grow up in Louisiana? I think most people listening, it may seem normal to us, but most people listening who didn't grow up in the South, like have a little bit of infatuation with how people grew up in the South. Like, did you grow up like a kind of a country?
Man, I grew up I grew up in a pretty small town. It was a small town. I grew up in Bossier City, Louisiana. I'm originally from Shreveport because there wasn't really hospitals in Bossier. So I was born in Shreveport and then was raised in Bossier City, Louisiana. Just a small town just across the Red River from Shreveport. It was pretty rural. every time that I go back home, it has gotten significantly, what was a 2-lane is now a 5-lane road. I remember when we got Walmart, and that was a big deal. And now is stores everywhere. And every time they're building something, you're like, man, look, another bank. Yeah. But it's pretty much a big city now, relatively. But yeah, I grew up in the Bible Belt. I grew up in a super religious home. There wasn't a whole lot to do. Honestly, I got pretty rebellious pretty early. Yeah. I was getting into a lot of fights. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. I got kicked out of the church that we were going to. I got kicked out of the youth group. And it caused me to start to resent organized religion pretty hardcore. Which also sends me down another path of the people that I was hanging out with weren't that group of people anymore. And I was trying to make a name for myself. Being in special operations now, I can say that, the piece of advice that people give you is, show up, be quiet, pay attention, and find your niche, find where you fit in. But I've been doing that my whole life. When I was like, okay, well, if the church community is not where I belong, well, then where do I belong? And I kind of quickly found out that fighting made a name for me. And so whether it was a fist fight or going to MMA or doing jiu-jitsu or boxing or kickboxing, I was like, hey, I'm kind of good at this. I'm going to try to get as good as I can at it. And man, I just grew up super rebellious, to be honest. I hated authority. And then it turned into I'm graduating high school and I'm going to show my dad that he can't tell me what to do. I'm going to join the Marine Corps.
I hate authority, so I'm going to join the Marine Corps.
Yeah. No, man. My parents have video camera footage of me, even I don't know how young it was, 6, 7 years old, saying I'm either going to be a preacher or I'm going to be in the Marine Corps. Yeah. Or I said the Army. All the way up until I was 13 or 14. And I had a cousin who was a little bit older than me. He joined the Marine Corps, came back from boot camp, and he had on his dress blues. And I'm like, hey, and the internet wasn't around, so I'm like, hey, what is the Marine Corps? And he's like, oh, it's like the Army, but better. And I was like, oh, well, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. And I did. I joined the Marine Corps really thinking that it was like a tier 1 unit. I thought that I was going to be John Rambo. But I joined the Marine Corps. I was always patriotic. I wanted to serve my country, but also I had that spark of rebellion. I thought that I wanted to, I'm good at the chaos. I'm good at the fighting. Can I survive the metric of combat? And growing up at that time, watching the news in middle school and seeing Fallujah happening. And now I've got a lot of my buddies that were in that battle. And, I'm sitting in middle school thinking, man, the war's going to be over before I join, But I wanted to prove myself. I think the older I get, the more I think it was a little bit of a selfish decision more than it was a selfless decision. And maybe that's retrospect. I don't know.
I think if a lot of service members are honest, especially those who go in, combat.
Yeah. Jobs, I wanted to prove something to myself and to others. Yeah. It was that little voice in the back of my head telling me I'm not enough.
Right.
And I tried to chase that and fill that with accomplishments. Unfortunately, I chose a path that doesn't make a lot of money. But I got into the Marine Corps and absolutely loved the Marine Corps. The culture of the Marine Corps is an incredible one. And the Marine Corps really is what you make it. I truly believe that the military is whatever you make it. My dad would tell me all the time, son, you are who you hang out with. And I was like, Dad, you don't know. Yeah. You don't know that. But I definitely saw that in the Marine Corps. If you hang out with the turds of the Marine Corps, then you will be a turd in the Marine Corps. If you hang out with, hey, that guy's the best squad leader in the battalion, I want to hang out with that dude. I want to pick every waking moment. I want to hear what he's got going on. You will slowly become one of the high performers. If you surround yourself with the high performers, you will be the high performer. And that's what I did. I tried to, I was young, I was immature. I got in trouble a lot. I was drinking a lot, like the Marine Corps tends to do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then I went on my first deployment, got some combat experience in Afghanistan, got my combat action ribbon. A really weird deployment for me because it was the same coming back. a lot of it was like that timeline where you know there's a lot of changeover.
And you were the infantry.
Yeah, I was a 0311.
Yeah.
Right before that deployment, I had gone to like a battalion school of like the non-0331. So I went to like a machine gunner's course that doesn't give me the MOS, but it makes me qualified to be a machine gunner or something.
Yeah.
And I went to that course while I was a saw gunner at the time. Showed up, did my first 3 foot patrols with a 249 saw. And I was like, dude, this is not it. 5.56, and it was like a parasaw, so it was a shorter barrel. It's like, this is not it. I want to trade it in. I traded it in. It took some convincing to my officers because I was an E3 man. I was a nobody, but it took some convincing to my officers. But I'm like, hey, I run a 300 PFT. I run 18-minute 3 mile, 20 pull-ups is nothing. I have one of the fastest CFTs in the battalion, if not the fastest. I'm one of the most in shape guys here. Let me carry a 240 with, even though I'm not an 0331, I carried, from then on, I carried a 240, 1,000 rounds and my spare barrel on every foot patrol that we went on. And it turned into, other squads being like, hey, I know you just got back from patrol, but we want someone to carry the 240 and nobody else wants to do that. Yeah. Will you come with us? So it was a lot of like, I kind of built a name for myself with that 240. And really, I tell people all the time, I really do feel like I was the best person on planet Earth with a 240 for maybe a short period of time. Like it is definitely a perishable skill, but I really was very, very good with a 240. That was for
the listeners. The difference between the saw would be 5.56 caliber versus 7.62 in a 240, which is a much more.
So it's like your 223 to 308 comparison. So they're both 850 to 950 rounds per minute of linked deal. But actually, I think the Parasol and the 240 Bravo weigh the same. So it's not, it's at least it's close. No, I'm sorry. It's 10 pound weight difference. I think it's 17 pounds for the Parasol and 20 something pounds for the 240. I may be getting that confused. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But the 240, it's heavier, but you've got a longer barrel. You've got a bigger caliber. It definitely stretches out my max effective range. And especially being in Afghanistan where it's either like wide open poppy fields, which Helmand province was a lot of, or you're up in the mountains, man, the average engagement I think was like 600 yards. So if that's stretching the capability of my 249, whereas the 240, even though it's much heavier, the ammo is heavier, even all of the cons, the pros were I can at least reach the enemy effectively with my ammunition and provide accurate covering fire or suppressive fire for my unit. And so that's what, man, I prided myself on my work with the 240. I think it was where I really first fell in love with machine gun tactics. As I became later on, when I became an 18 Bravo, which were a weapons and tactics specialist as a Green Beret, that became my like true love, like machine gun theory. I would teach, pick them deep from the Marine Corps' machine gun Bible. I loved the machine gun, like the 240. the heavy machine guns, that became like my absolute obsession and love, that and mortars. And I think it's the biggest way to set yourself apart.
Let's talk about that. What made you transition from leaving the Marine Corps to go to SF?
So I came back from that deployment, and I was kind of getting at this earlier. So I have terrible ADD. But when I got back from that deployment, it was such an interesting deployment because when I got back, it was at that time where a lot of those guys were getting out. My friends were getting out and I stayed in, and I left my unit to go to a sniper platoon. I did a sniper indoc, and I spent right at 2.5 years in a Marine Scout sniper platoon as a non-school trained guy. I was a pig for 2.5 years and trying to go to school. I never could get school slots.
Yeah. You want to share what the acronym for PIG is? So you're in a state platoon, right?
Yeah.
Surveillance Target Acquisition Platoon, which is every Marine Corps battalion has one.
Yep.
And it's in the platoon, you have pigs and hogs.
Yep. And so you have that like professionally instructed gunman, right? And so that's the pig. That's me, the guy who's a lot of times winds up carrying the Beret, carrying the really heavy gun that we don't shoot often, or the 249 carrying the saw, or 240 for me. And they're doing a lot of the grunt work, honestly, on a sniper platoon, and observing everything that the hogs are doing. The hogs being hunter of gunmen. Also, super cool. Pretty well known now at this point, but the hogs too. So when you graduate sniper school, you get a 7.62 projectile around a necklace, 550 cord necklace. And it's supposed to be, that's the sniper bullet meant for you. And this counter sniper won't be successful as long as you have that hog's tooth on you. It's a huge point of pride. Man, I am very nostalgic about the Marine Scout Sniper Platoon. I loved my experience there. That was like the big accelerator for my growth, where I was like, oh, I see these guys are on a different level than me. How do I get there? But going back to my deployment real quick, that deployment was rough because when I came back and started that transition over to the sniper platoon, I kind of left a lot of my buddies, and then a lot of them started getting out. And I was still had this big next goal in mind.
Yeah. These
guys all started struggling. PTSD symptoms, guys doing crazy. Man, we lost a lot of guys to suicide. And a lot of people would call me and be like, hey man, how are you doing? And well, I'm struggling with this. And a lot of people started to call me back then, telling me the things that they were going through, and I didn't understand it. And I'm like, we did the same thing. We were both
because you weren't struggling yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I had brief struggles right when I got back. I say brief. I had my own set of struggles. I just didn't accredit them to what I had just been through. I was very angry. That deployment changed me a lot. I was a different guy when I came back, and I had a lot of, I got arrested quite a few times after I got back from that deployment, and was just constantly finding ways to get into trouble. Most of that was fighting. And that was the way that I reacted, was aggression. But I didn't accredit that to, hey, it's because of what I've come back from. But once all my buddies started calling, I started to see, and that was a development phase for me, and maybe like what I'm called to do down the road, looking back, because it was when I first started to do a lot of research on, hey, what's going on with my friends and the issues that they're having? Number one, why am I not having those? Why is my signs and symptoms different? And I started to do a lot of research, but it's also where I saw a higher level of tactics and proficiency. And I started to chase that. I started to, in the Marine Corps, I never was formally taught how to shoot a pistol. But I actually went out and got like the old Magpul, Travis Haley and Chris Costa videos, and was like, let me just spend every waking second watching this and learning how to shoot. And obviously that's changed a lot of things since then. But it's really where I committed myself to the tactics, the SOPs, the increasing my lethality in every way that I could find. That's where it started, was a sniper platoon. I got frustrated with the Marine Corps in general because I kept getting promised things and the Marine Corps continued to not deliver. And I finally got frustrated. I was performing very, very well, and they were sending other people to sniper school ahead of me, not because of my chief scout didn't want me to go. It was because the officers were like, yeah, but we want to send this guy. And I was getting passed over and skipped over. And I made the decision that I wasn't going to re-enlist. Instead, I did a conditional release. I started pouring through every other special operations in existence. I read every book that I could get my hands on. And I finally fell in love with the mission of the Army Special Forces, de-oppresso libere, to free the oppressed. I really fell in love with that motto.
Was it the Fed mission that you were, No,
the whole thing of de-oppresso libere. Man, I read Mac v. Sog. Started reading about Mac v. Sog. That was like when the first books for Mac v. Sog started to be released.
Right.
And so I read everything I could get my hands on. And I was like, dude, if this is what a Green Beret is, sign me up. I started reading about the OSS. I started reading about the predecessors to Special Forces. I started reading about different ODAs, the right when at 2001, when they sent in 2 ODAs into Afghanistan and pretty much overthrew the Taliban very quickly. Riding, horse soldiers, riding your horses against tanks and stuff. I just fell in love with this. Hey, it's 12 guys. You're in the middle of nowhere. It's up to y'all. Use whatever support you have available, but think outside the box, be a general, not a sergeant. I fell in love with that, and being a force multiplier. I really fell in love with, I also like the unconventional warfare, going in and overthrowing a legitimate government, which is very frowned upon. But falling in love with that mission set and seeing how cool it is. And I will say it's one of the most diverse jobs, because you can be John Rambo, which is what I wanted to be initially, but eventually you can also get into, more of the like James Bond style of things, which I don't know that I was really well suited for. But I fell in love with all of it. And that's when I was like, okay, I did a conditional release. I went to a 20th Special Forces group, tried out for 20th group. I went to a lot of active duty recruiters, and they told me, if you have it, they said, I said, hey, I've been in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I'm a corporal. I want to join Army Special Forces. I want to be an 18 Bravo. Like, have you ever been arrested for an alcohol related incident? I was like, yeah, I've been in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I told you, in the infantry. That was like a rite of passage back then, it felt like. And I was shocked and blown away, but every active duty recruiter kicked me out of their office and said, if you've been arrested for an alcohol related incident, you are not eligible to become a Green Beret. So I found 20th group. I did a ton of research. There wasn't a lot online about them, but I called a friend of a friend of a friend who knew somebody, and it was a 20th Special Forces group recruiter. Got in touch with them, went and did a tryout at the unit, came back to the Marine Corps. They told me, hey, we're going to accept you. I waited until my EAS. Whenever I EAS from the Marine Corps, I then went and enlisted the same day in the 20th Special Forces group. And I had a date for selection and airborne school. And so that was in 2014, is when I got released from the Marine Corps.
The process to be, through assessment selection and 18 Bravo school, it's pretty long.
There's only one MOS producing school in the U.S. military that's longer than that, and that's to be a fighter pilot. So my pipeline was 2.5 years long. It changes, it fluctuates,
right? The
course itself. But I had selection, I had airborne school, and then I went to the Special Forces qualification course, the Q course. And that is, man, it's a grind. I don't look back on anything and think that it was too hard, but I tell people all the time, like, BUDS or like Ranger school is this hard for this long.
Right.
The Q course is this hard for that long, and it's just a matter of, can you not mess up? can you not, you can't get arrested. You can't get in trouble for fighting. You can't get in trouble for drinking. Can you show that you're mature and you're willing to, it was like my college. I was constantly learning and trying to push myself mentally and physically, but also, and man, the amount of former Marines in Special Forces is absolutely astounding.
I know a ton who made the transition.
Yep. In fact, my first SF team that I showed up to in our team room, I was the fourth former Marine on the team. So out of 12 SF guys, 4 of us are former Marines. And then there's a recruiting poster in there from like the 1980s that says, sometimes the best soldier for the job is a Marine. And I guess they were like very heavily, aggressively like recruiting former Marines to come to the Army at one point in time. And it's an awesome poster to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got into SF and really, man, I showed up to an incredible team. I had a legend of a team sergeant. Fred Fleury was his name. He is retired now, but one of the most amazing leaders that I got to grow up under and see what right looks like, really. I definitely underestimated him when I showed up. He was an older gentleman. He didn't look like he was in incredible shape. I was like, man, who's this grandpa? Who's this grandpa that's my team dad, you know? And the first time that I said something to someone who I was super new there, I didn't know anybody, and I asked one guy a question. He was like, "You talking about Fred?" I said, "Man, that dude's killed more people than cancer, bro." He's like, "That guy has done so much in this. He's a legend." And I quickly saw why. Not just like a combat thing, but a leadership thing. I knew that man had my back. If the Army was getting one over on me, he would raise hell to fix it. He was a loving, caring leader. Who prioritized the mission over everything else. And then the men, the mission, the men, and then me, it was for sure. He lived that, man. It was very, very impressive. I had an incredible captain as well. He's still in, but, it was one of those captains that, your active duty team captain gets like a year, maybe if they're lucky. Okay. I had a captain that was a team captain for 9 years. He turned down major 4 times. And I was in the company office when they were like, "Hey, if you turn down major this time, like we're going to have to kick you out of the Army." And without missing a beat to my company, Sergeant Major, my commander was there as well. He was like, "Dude, that's fine. I'll just come back as that junior 18 Echo." He's talking about giving up his commission and coming back as a junior enlisted guy. He's like, "Man, I already do that job anyways." But man, they cared about the team. They sold the team well. We were able to do things in National Guard SF as a team that most active duty teams weren't getting to do because of the incredible leadership that we had. We were able to prove ourselves very quickly and then go perform. And I know like reading some of like Jocko's books and Jocko talks about a lot. There's no such thing as a bad team, only bad leadership. Man, I saw that for sure. Yeah. With incredible leadership, they took some average dudes and did incredible things. And I was just blown away by it. And I was super fortunate to see them. I really do feel like that was me seeing what right looked like.
For educational purposes, for the audience, because I haven't heard anybody talk about this before, in the totality is, can you talk about all the different 18 series, like just real brief, like a brief overview of?
Yeah. So every SF team is designed to be detached. Okay. It's actually in the name, Operational Detachment Alpha. Right. That's what an ODA or an SF team is, the A team. That all comes from the ODA. The ODA is designed to operate independently of its own chain of command, pretty much. You have a commander, just like you have a company commander, you have a team commander. You have, which is typical, is a captain. Okay.
These are 12 guys. This ODA is 12, right?
Yep. It's 12 guys. So you have a captain, and then every position has a very similar or a mirror image. So you have a captain, and then you also have a warrant officer. So you have an 18 Alpha is your captain. That's the team commander. And then you have a 180 Alpha that is your warrant officer. And that is someone who grew up in SF as enlisted and then transitioned to an officer. He's there to bridge the gap between a relatively young captain, officer, and a very senior E8 enlisted 18 Zulu team sergeant. So you have your 18 Alpha captain, you have your 180 Alpha, which is your warrant officer, and then directly thereafter you have an 18 Zulu, which is typically it's an E8 position, master sergeant, and it's someone who knows the intricate details and ins and outs of not the company, of the team, of SF and what their mission is. He's been on a lot of deployments, very senior guy. And then after that, it's like a breakdown of, you have an 18 Fox who's your intelligence. He runs all the intelligence side of things for the team. And that's kind of your big four. That's our leadership for the team.
Right.
And they're designed that way so that they can split, right? So if we had to operate in a 6-man team, you could split the team down the center and have still both sides have an officer and a senior enlisted position.
Got you.
So your 18 Zulu and 18 Fox kind of being similar mirrored images, and then your 18 Alpha and 180 Alpha being similar or closely mirrored images. After that, you have your 18 Bravo, which is weapons and tactics.
Which is you.
Which is what I did. And you have a senior and a junior. So that is designed for, you don't always get that. That's what perfect world scenario.
Right.
I got lucky. I had a senior that was awesome when I showed up to my first team. He was very quick to point out strengths and weaknesses of, hey man, when it comes to actually shooting, you're a way better shot than I am. You're a way better instructor on the range. You take that, run with it. I'll follow your lead there. I was shooting competition and doing a bunch of things back then. So he was like, that's your baby.
Right.
When it comes to anything else 18 Bravo related, he was the man to go to. And so I got better at those things from watching him. And he was like, hey, you're new, but you set the standard for these things. And it was just a cool dynamic there. But then you have your 18 Charlie, which is your demolitions and construction experts.
Right.
So if you want something built or something unbuilt, you call those guys, or if you want something stolen, they're great guys. But your 18 Charlies, you have a senior and a junior. 18 Delta, which is your SF medic, and completely unbiased, man. Some of the best medics
100%.
On the planet.
Yeah.
A lot of other programs like the SEALs, I think they just started their own thing. Call it SOCM. No, SOM-C, I think is what they're calling it. I can't remember. But typically like SARCs.
The Recon Corps, man.
Those guys
the
go
SOC
through.
guys.
SOCM through the Army.
Even the PJs used to go through.
Yep. And I think they still send people through SOCM.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people are trying to get their own thing going, but man, it's so hard to deviate when they've got the right recipe. SOCM is an incredible thing. And then after that, they go through, portions of veterinary school, dental school. It's just drinking from a fire hose. Every Green Beret that's been through the Q course, every 18 Delta spent way more time at the Q course than anybody else. They're there for 7 to 9 months before they even really officially start the Q course, doing SOCM itself.
Yeah.
But 18 Delta, you have a junior and a senior as well. And then you have your 18 Echo, which is communication specialists. Beep, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
The nerd guys. That may be a lot of them, but that's not all of them. I've met some incredible 18 Echoes, but your 18 Echoes is just a senior and a junior as well. So that's the breakdown of those MLSs.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because we've gotten that question before, like, hey, somebody break this down. Yeah. So it's a good piece we could put out for people to learn. Well,
it's crazy too, man. So you have a lot of military followers and stuff, a lot of veteran-based following. But even being in the Army, man, I've been on deployments where my last deployment, we were not detached, which was a political decision. We were attached to the flagpole. But I would go to supply places. It was like a big Army base. And we would go in there and I'd be like, hey, you know, I'm here to pick up these TVs. And like, oh, you can't have that. That's for the ODA. And I was like, or that's for the UDA is what they said. And I was like, the UDA, what is that? They're like, oh, I don't know. These TVs are for the UDA that are coming in. And I was like, I am the UDA. the ODA, the special operations team, that is us.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you know, I don't know. I'm like, well, but that's what this stands for. You don't even know you know what Green Berets are? And they're like, no, I don't know what Green Berets.
Yeah.
Like there's people within the Army that's their job and they don't even pay attention to or even know that that's a route, which is mind boggling to me. But you know, I think it is cool to pass that down. I wish stuff like that existed when I was younger, looking at what career to join.
Information out there.
Now you can get online and figure out just about whatever you want. But yeah.
So you eventually get to deploy with ODA.
Yep. And
what was that like?
Man, I was for sure chasing a dragon. I was trying to I was volunteering for every deployment that came down. I was guard bumming. So in the National Guard, if you're not on active duty orders, you can just kind of go back to you can work a civilian job or whatever. I was not doing that. I was there to make this my full-time job. That's what I wanted it to be originally. And that's what I tried to do to the best of my ability. I volunteered for every school, for every deployment. I was the hungry new guy that was like, here I am, send me, I want to prove myself to my team, to the company. And I finally got a chance to do some deployments. It wasn't even with my ODA. My ODA wasn't deployment. So I found an ODA that was and went with them. And it was very, very interesting. I was the third 18 Bravo on the team. So I got treated like a redheaded stepchild for a little while until we started running ranges. And then they were like, oh, wow. They started calling me Bravo Infinity. People would joke around and say, well, you're Bravo 3. You know, you're the third Bravo on the team. What kind of value are you adding? And then the rebuttal from everybody on the team started to be, well, yeah, dude, that's Bravo Infinity. Like that dude is awesome on a range. And yeah, so I just really poured it in. That sounded really braggadocious there. I wasn't trying to be that way, but that is something that I was very good about and I'm very passionate about. So I poured my heart and soul into it, you know? But I started to run ranges. I started to get really confident in, hey, I know what I'm really good at. It was also an experience to learn that I don't know everything and I'm still very new at this. It was a gut check, man. I built a little confidence, but I also had a little bit of a gut check of, hey, don't get too big for your britches. There's a whole world out there that you've spent zero time learning about. So it was my first time seeing the surveillance and the counter surveillance and that aspect of a foreign intelligence service, kind of up close and personal. So that was a eye-opening thing for me. Man, I think the transition, especially being an 18 Bravo,
right? Guys
that are known for being very, very aggressive, and coming from the Marine Corps, aggression is what is rewarded. So I was able to be a good 18 Bravo very, very quickly because that was like what was I was a power lifter. It's like, oh, the big, dumb Bravo, you know? And that's the Marine Corps has got its own reputation of like being crayon eaters and everything else. I've worked really hard later on in my career to like reverse that stereotype of, hey, I'm more than just big muscles, and big guns, you know?
Yeah.
And really start to use my brain, especially as my body broke down, you know? You're kind of forced to do, hey, maybe I won't do the run and gun, shoot 'em up schools anymore. And I'll start to focus on the intelligence side of things. And I'll start to really expand my capability, and prove myself to my commanders. And that, it was a difficult
path to being a Fox or a Bravo. I mean, or a Zulu, right?
Yeah. So, and that's a pretty common thing is 18 Bravo, because you're also assisting, you deal with all the tactics, you're doing all the ops. So every time we're planning an operation, it's me and the team sergeant really that is planning the tactics of the operation. And a lot of it's, hey, I come up with a plan, I bring it to my team sergeant and or my senior and then my team sergeant. And then they look at it and say, yeah, I like this. Or, hey, especially as a junior 18 Bravo, show up to your senior and they're like, hey, let me show you some critiques here. Okay, now go tell the team sergeant. They make you look good, but because of that relationship when it comes to operations, as you progress, the typical thing is 18 Bravo to 18 Fox to to 18 Zulu. It's a very common thing. I've seen it. There's any MOS can become an 18 Zulu or an 18 Fox, but it's very common that it's 18 Bravo because of the work that you're doing as kind of assisting the ops sergeant.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Just being the resilient show, I mean, stories of resilience or come from the kind of stuff you guys have done. Are there any stories that stick out of like courage or resilience that you've seen in your teammates, especially on these combat deployments?
Man, there's a lot of them. I could tell you stories of incredible human beings. And I've watched a lot of your podcasts. I've seen a lot of people come on here and heard their stories, and they're incredible stories. But I could sit up here and tell very impressive stories about other people in combat all day long. But one of the coolest things to me, and talk about being resilient, but I mentioned him earlier, Fred Fleury. I was not on this deployment. I was still in the Q course, but it's a story that has been told to me, and from everybody that was there, it's a story that's stuck with me for forever. My senior actually is the one who told me about, my team sergeant, Fred Fleury. And, but yeah, so they were in Africa. They were in a country, in fact, if you remember the Joseph Kony from Kony 2012, there was like a big thing on Facebook. He was terrorist, running a terrorist organization in Africa. They were like recruiting child soldiers and having children kill their family. And then, it was a terrible thing, but they were tasked with going after Joseph Kony. And so they were, doing things that Secretary of Defense level approval, they actually pretty much not invaded a country, but low-vis infiltrated into a country and found Joseph Kony and then reported back and said, hey, we found this guy and we're prepared to kill him. This is our plan to do it. Do you want it? Well, during that operation, they did it. And I don't remember the total infill process, but there was some vehicle, there was some helicopter, but the on-foot portion was 40 kilometers through African desert. Just some of the worst climate. One of the most gangster dudes in SF that I know. Also a former Marine, scout sniper. He was a Razorback in the Marine Corps, which means he's been to every Marine Scout Sniper school that they have available, which is very rare. And then came to SF and was just a legend in SF as well. He's an 18 Echo. Now he's an orthopedic surgeon. Like he's just a accomplished, super smart, hardworking dude. But even him, they talked about on that infill. My captain said he walked up and he was taking bullets out of his 9mm and putting them in the sand. And he was like, hey, brother, what you doing there? And he's like, oh, I'm just planting these Skittles. He's like, you're doing what? He's like, man, I realize we're black on water. I've got guys that are like hallucinating and talking to trees. And this is the infill. We're not even at the thing yet. He's like, oh shit. He's like, now this super amazing high level dude, he's got like a monkey tail attached to me. Like, do not leave my hip. I need an 18 Delta supervising this guy. We need to stop and give him an IV. Guys were like they were burning out physically because of the lack of water. It was just a very difficult infill process. But they get to this thing and it's like super thick jungle. Once they get through the desert, they went through quite a few terrain changes along the way, but they get to this, I'm not sure how many canopies it was, but it was a big jungle setting, and they're setting up at where they were not Taliban, I think can't remember what terrorist organization went, Boko Haram, ISIS West Africa, or whatever it was. They were using monkeys. They would set up camp like where the monkeys were, so that they could use them as like guard dogs. Right. And so when the monkeys would start barking and howling, they would know, hey, something or somebody is coming. Well, as they were kind of patrolling, the monkeys started going crazy. They saw movement through the thermals. They knew, hey, we accidentally stumbled right up onto this camp. And so they set up. They knew they were outnumbered. I've talked to a lot of the guys that were there. My senior was there. My captain was there. They said Fred Fleury was just like, all right, we getting into an ambush position. He set in a picture perfect ambush and was like, this is going to be a counterattack. When they open up, we're going to demolish them. We're probably going to get overrun. We might die, but we're going to take so many of these guys with us. Well, there was an 18 Charlie on the team. the guy at the time was like the best 18 Charlie in our company, like very well known, very high regarded. He could be a little difficult to work with, very opinionated guy.
This the 18 Charlie's demo guy.
Yeah, demolitions guy. And anyways, that guy was like, Fred, no, we're going to die. Like we need to exfil, dude. We need to get out of here. We need to abort. And Fred was like, no, it's like, we're not doing that. He's like, let me tell you something. And I'll never forget. My team sergeant said that they were, in the ambush line. He's like, man, I'm pretty new. I'm leaning over trying to listen to what he's saying. They're kind of whisper fighting. And he's like, let me tell you something. When we get back from this patrol, if we get back from this patrol, you are fired. There will be no pussies on 3-2. And that's like, he tells like, on our team, you will not be a coward in the face of the enemy. And like, if you're going to freak out and panic right now, when the rest of the team is counting on you to get their 6, and it turned out that they were able to avoid, they never got compromised. That early warning kind of made the guys bounce, but they ended up finding them and getting them later on. But legit, he said, we got done with this mission. We got back to the base. He said, we came in, and the next time I saw that dude, he had all his bags packed and was walking out. He was like, that was it. That was all Fred needed to know, was that he wasn't 100% committed. And this guy that was regarded and held in super high regard, and everybody liked him, he's a good guy, was getting kicked off the team because he was a coward when it came down to it.
It came down to do your job.
Yeah. And I mean, he had combat experience. It's not like, but in the face of a terrible situation, instead of gritting his teeth and digging down deep. And I saw that consistently with Fred, not just in the combat things, but like even on a run. The first run I ever did with him, I crossed the finish line and I kind of slacked up a little bit and I started to walk a little bit before I crossed. I did my cool down before I crossed the finish line. As soon as he crossed the finish line, he came and grabbed my arm and was like, hey, why did you walk it in across the line? On this team, you will give max effort until the finish line, and then you can start your cool down. I don't care if you're first or last. When you come across this finish line, it better be max effort. And that was the standard. Like, that's what he expected. He held us to that standard. And it was just, man, I was super fortunate to be around him. But that kind of grit and resiliency is, if you set this standard in all areas of your life, for sure, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fall short. But the resiliency to get back up and to work I can tell you, I've made grave mistakes in my career that I regret immensely. And Fred Fleury has been a sounding board for me to go back to and say, Fred, man, this is what I'm going through. And I messed up and it's all my fault. Yeah. He's like, yeah, okay, so you fell short. Hey, you have so much potential. Prove to everybody else that you can overcome it. And he helped me through that several times in my career, really. One of them, I know that he knows that he helped me through it. More often than not, he didn't know that he was helping me through it. But that kind of leadership, that kind of stepping up and maybe even ignoring that little negative voice in your head to be the guy that you're supposed to be. If you're not willing to do it for yourself, do it for others, because the impact that he had on me was immense. Just the man that he showed me how to be, the special operations guy that he showed me how to be, it really set the standard for me. And I tried to carry that over as much as possible into the next phase. Once Fred left the team, it was very sad. But I saw the first team sergeant he got fired because there's no way you can fill those shoes. He was doomed before he showed up. It took us a long time as a team to figure out, okay, nobody's going to be Fred Fleury, but that resiliency to say, in the face of certain death, in the face of I'm for sure outmanned, outgunned, there is no support. There is no one coming to save me. There's no AC-130 gunship overhead. There's no golden hour helicopter that's going to come and pick me up. We're not supposed to be in this country. If things go south, we're screwed here. And in the face of all of that, you still stand tall with iron in your gut. You know what I mean? He's just been a man that I looked up to so immensely. I've been enamored really with his courage and the integrity that he fulfilled that leadership role with.
It's one of the great things about being in those types of jobs is we all say it, you stand on the shoulders of giants. Yeah. Right. Now, and every culture, like soft culture, infantry culture, every culture has those who came before us that they challenge us to be that for the next generation.
I'm always blown away when, especially like going on a podcast and people are like, oh man, how do you get up there and you talk about, why don't you talk about more about it, about what you've done? I'm like, man, it makes me so uncomfortable because maybe to someone who's not a Green Beret, like my story is very cool. But for me, I know that what I've done is nothing compared to the other Green Berets that I got a chance to work with. Yeah. And like, I'm not claiming to be some like the most combat hardened guy. I don't want to claim any of those titles because I know 100 people that are way more qualified, that were way more professional. Self-doubt aside, like factually correct, they did more than I did. And I'm fine with that. But my goal is more to point out the things that guys are struggling with post-career, like when they get out, rather than focus on like what I did or try to bring attention to me. I want to bring attention to the amazing guys in the community that showed me how to be decent. But I think the biggest thing now is commend those guys and then see what we can do to fix the problem when guys do get out and transition.
You've had a tough transition yourself.
Yeah.
Both. I mean, I know you said early on you wasn't dealing with the PTSD or stuff like that, but did you eventually deal with those things, or see behaviors manifest, like poor behaviors and judgment manifest as a result of your combat service?
Man, I think I'm one of those guys that, I know I've kind of figured out that what I was doing was, instead of thinking about or dealing with or processing what I just went through, I would, as soon as I got back from something, I would find the next, okay, I have all these conflicting things going on inside me. I'm going to bury that down. I'm going to pretend it's not happening. And then I'm just going to find another goal to pursue with all of my life. Everything is committed to being in a sniper platoon now. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the best sniper that I can be. That doesn't work out. Okay, well, what's the next thing? I'm going to be a Green Beret. And I just throw everything at that. And it was a coping mechanism. I was able to put off a lot of my demons and hide a lot of things for a long time. Really, it wasn't until after I came back from my last deployment and started my medical retirement process and was like legitimately closing that book. There's no more next deployment. There's no more school. There's no more big achievement in the military world. What I've done is what I've done, and I'm moving on now. Like, no next chapter. The book is closing. Yeah, you're
never gonna be that cool again.
Yeah, exactly. I remember on my first deployment, I had a Corporal Broussard was his name, and I remember him saying that on one of our one of our patrols, like walking back from a gunfight, and he's like, bro, I think PTSD is just realizing that you're never going to be this cool again. He's like, I mean, look at me, bro. I look so cool right now. And like that image is ingrained in my brain. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's some validity to it of like, if everything else goes to hell in a handbasket, at least I can be like, oh, well, I'm going to go on this next deployment. And it's just complete in the here, in the now, focused on how I can accomplish the mission and nothing else mattering, to pay my bills or that I'm not being the husband that I want to be or the father that I want to. I can kind of belittle that for a second and selflessly sacrifice for this thing. But in reality, it was just it was me trying to fill a void, and I didn't understand that. By the time that I was getting out I'd been in for 17 years and 16 and some change when I first started the process. Now I'm at 18 and I'm still not quite out yet. I'm still dealing with the medical retirement side, but just the fact that it's actually closing and I'm going to get all this stuff documented and finding out how bad some of it really is. That's when things really started to fall apart. Yeah. And I didn't understand it because it's an exciting time. I'm transitioning. I'm getting out. This is awesome. I got a great job opportunity. The day that I filed for my medical retirement, I was driving home from Fort Bragg. I had my wife and kids in the car, and my really good friend, Sydney Gordon, the CEO of Core Medical Group, calls me and was like, hey man, I know you're back. How's the in-processing going stuff? And I told him, hey man, I just filed for my medical retirement stuff. I started the process and I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm excited to be getting out, but I'm kind of sad to admit that, we had to change some things on my last deployment because I physically can't perform the job at the level that I should be. I don't want to be a liability to the team, and he got super excited. He was like, awesome, dude. Hey, you got a 15-hour drive, huh? From Fort Bragg. I said, yeah. He said, cool, check your email. And hung up. And so I look at my email. He sent me a job opportunity, running an outreach division for CORE, as well as running the CORE Medical Foundation.
And you had already been a patient.
I had been a patient for 5 or 6 years at that point, before getting a job offer to come work for them.
So I love this. I love when guys like you, transition out and are able to find a home in a place where you could pay back. You take off the uniform, but you're still serving your community and paying forward, things that you've benefited from.
As much as I used the next accomplishment as a crutch in my life previously, this is one where it was not a crutch. It was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It was the best thing at that time, was that I got something that I could go from. Yeah, I have a part of my job that's focused on generating revenue for building relationships for CORE Medical Group. It's a fantastic hormone replacement therapy company. I know because I was a patient.
Yeah.
But also I was able to do the foundation, which was give me a chance to talk to people who are maybe years into the process and still really struggling. And I'm listening to them. And a lot of time I'm like giving them advice on things. They would open up. People they'd get vulnerable on the phone with you and tell you about what they're going through. And I'm like, dude, can I be honest with you, man? I feel the same thing. And it may sound like, because the relationship that we have, that maybe I've got all my life together, but dude, I do not. And it gave me a chance to be like open and vulnerable in a way that I haven't been in a long time. But man, when I started to close the door to my military career, it's like I'd been throwing skeletons in a closet and that'd have been fine. But now there were too many skeletons in the closet. And I just, instead of dealing with everything as it came, I waited to deal with it until I was getting out. Betrayal of, most of it was, honestly, man, I didn't struggle, still to this day, I don't struggle too much with some of the combat things that I've been through.
Yeah.
Most of it is like close friends betrayal, like relationship things or regrets from my, and some of it is chalking things up to maybe fog of war, or like, what's the word that they're calling it now? A moral injury, I think is what that's the term that they're calling it now. But those things where like, maybe I did things during an operation that it was the best decision. I can't negate it. It was I'd made the decision that I made with all of the information that I had at the time.
Yeah.
But now I regret it. But if I don't know what I know now on the backside, then I still stand by the decision that I made,
Right.
So things like that, just, it all kind of started to haunt me and to crumble. And it really came into a crescendo one morning. Dude, picture perfect morning. I got up, I'm starting a new job. I've got a new job. I'm retiring from my old job. I'm spending a ton of time at home. My relationship with my wife is better than it's ever been. My relationship with my kids is better than it's ever been. And I wake up to a picture perfect morning. Like I can't describe it any other way. I'm making breakfast. I've got a Zoom call here in a little bit, but the kids are about to leave and go to school. My wife's going to take them. My kids come in, they give me a hug and a kiss. All right, guys, we got them all dressed. When I woke them up for school that day, they're like all snuggly and, I love you, daddy, just a great morning. Then I get them all dressed. They're going to get in the car. They come running back into the kitchen like, hey, dad, I just want to give you another hug and a kiss, give them a hug and a kiss. They run out to the car. My wife comes back in. She's like, hey, I wanted a hug and a kiss too. Give her a hug and a kiss. And she's like, hey, you got any time maybe later on today that we could meet up in between meetings and get a couple of things done in the bedroom? Is that all right with you? Scheduling something with me? I'm like, I can make time for that. Yeah.
It's gonna be a good day.
Yeah. But like picture perfect morning, I felt loved. I felt respected. I felt seen. I sit down at my kitchen table, they leave, and maybe 10 minutes into breakfast, it sounded like an audible voice out of nowhere for the first time in my life that was like, you're a worthless piece of shit. You should kill yourself.
Mm.
And I agreed wholeheartedly with it.
Mm.
It's like you convincing myself really, I guess, that maybe I was pretending to be a good husband. I was pretending to be a good father. It's not what I'm good at. What I'm good at is chaos. If you put me in a fight, you put me in a bar brawl or or a gunfight, I may not win, but I'm going to hold my own. You know, I'll thrive at that chaos. But imposter syndrome, or I don't know. And I started to like make the move of like, well, I know my pistol is sitting by my nightstand. I got up and then I just sat down. I was like, no, dude, what is happening? Look at the morning that you've had. And I've had friends that died that I didn't have that level of suicidal ideations. I've been through really, really tough times that I didn't have that level of suicidal ideations. So it was not just emotionally strange and different for me, but it was also like, why is this happening? Why would I want to kill myself right now? Look at everything that I have going for me. This is arguably one of the best times of my life.
Do you think that maybe you felt like you just didn't deserve that? Like
I do. Yeah. I do. I think it, and Tyler Gray is a good buddy of mine. He's a former Army Tier 1 guy. He also does some consulting in the film industry. He's done a lot of things in the film industry, but incredible guy. And I had a conversation with him and I told him about that. And he said, well, what do you think is the thing that you work on the most? What's the thing that you need to fix the most in your life? And I said, the negative self-talk for sure. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, you're almost there. You've almost got it. And I was like, hold on. Now, if you have this like secret code that I don't want to learn it on my own. Like, tell me the thing, like, don't make me waste years. You're 15 years out of being in the military. I'm less than a year. Like, tell me the secret sauce right now, you know? But one of he was like, you know, he painted a picture of my life. Have you been physically abused as a child? Have you been sexually abused as a child? Have you you were physically, sexually, emotionally abused as a child? Like all these things. And I'm like, how do you know that about me? He's like, because you are me. That's why. Mm-hmm. He's like, it is so common in our field for those things to be true because that's what pushed us to be high performers. Mm-hmm. It is, you don't have PTSD, you have LTSD, lack of traumatic stress. He's like, your childhood was chaotic and stressful. So you perform very, very well in the chaotic, stressful environment of combat or a bar brawl. But when it comes to everything is great, there is no stress, let's relish in it, you struggle for that. You'll create your own chaos because that's more comfortable. Something's going to go bad. It might as well be me that makes it go bad. I don't have 100% answer on it, but like that was the start of me really learning. I called my wife immediately. I cried for a while. I like ugly cried for a long time thinking about, man, you just looked at your daughter's face and you would take that relationship away from her. What a selfish, I beat myself up bad, you know? And then I cried a small pool in my kitchen. And then I called my wife and said, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on, but I need you to come home as soon as you drop the kids off. She came home and I told her, hey, it's not you. It has nothing to do with you. I'm not unhappy with my marriage or with you or anything. I don't know why, but I wanted to kill myself earlier and I can't put it into words. And yeah, man, I think that was like the beginning. I went and saw a psychiatrist, went and saw a therapist for the first time, and really started to, and they asked me a question of, would it be okay with you if you were not okay? Mm-hmm. And like completely caught me off guard. Yeah. Tears started running down my face and I was like, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I was not okay with it. I was uncomfortable. I was embarrassed to admit that something was wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. It bugged me. It bugged me to admit that I wasn't okay. It bugged me to say, hey, I'm not ready to do some of the things that I'm doing. Running the foundation can be very taxing when you're dealing with people who are at that point, just like I was.
Right.
But I can't be in a canoe, a life raft, getting people in the life raft with a hole in it. Mm-hmm. You know, I can't rescue people while I am also in need of rescuing. And I had some conversations and I kind of started to change the way that I was doing. And then finally I got to a place where I was like, no, actually, you know what? This is great. Let me share with people that, hey, I can tell people you're not alone. And it was a start of me kind of sharing my story and being open and honest and vulnerable. And in my opinion, really being the man that I'm called to be, which is to tell people, hey, I don't have an ego. I'm not here to prove to you how cool I am. I'm really here to prove to you that I'm also a human, and I struggle with all the same things that you're going through. I know what hurting feels like. I know what hurting because of your own actions and suffering the consequences of my own actions. I know what that feels like. I know what that is. And you're not alone.
Yeah. Stu Weber says it in the book, Tender Warrior, also a Green Beret. Stu Weber was a Green Beret in Vietnam.
Yeah.
He said, the things you struggle with are in the heart of every man you know. We all struggle with the same things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And man, having the courage to sit down with someone and be that honest, there's been a lot of times where I'm like looking at the face of a stranger and this little voice is like, bro, just tell him. Just tell him. And I'm like, oh no, what if he rejects it? What if it's weird? Yeah. It's like, man, this has been a thing that I've said a lot, especially working with the foundation and working with veterans that are going through a tough spot. I would rather have an awkward conversation now than not be able to have that conversation and regret having it in 6 months from now.
Yeah. I've been on both sides of that. I've had the awkward conversations, and I've also had the ones that I've foregone and wish I would have said something.
Yeah.
Before.
And I've also had the very close friend that Nick Guard was a very, very close friend of mine. He's a first group guy, but he was former Force Recon Marine, the most professional human being I've ever met in a uniform. I mean, even like we went through the Q course together, and going through the 18 Bravo course, I'd like tell a joke about some mortars and he'd be like, hey bro, not right now. Okay. All right. There's no instructor. It's just me and you. So, bro, just when he wore that uniform, he was the spitting image of professionalism. You go to his house that afternoon, he's going to be in board shorts. He was a Samoan. He was from Hawaii. He'd be in board shorts and if he had a shirt on, it'd be like a wife beater. He's like, hey bro, how you been? I'm like, dude, who are you? These are two different people. But man, I loved him, man. I learned so much from him. Even just going through the Q course, he was a fantastic human being and incredible at the job. You just one of those guys that gets it right off the bat. And I'm over here working my butt off and practicing and studying. And he's like, bro, I read through it once. Yeah, it's not that complex. He's just a very intelligent guy, man. And I'll never forget the first time I ever cried in front of my son. Also, I was boarding a plane to fly to Denver to see my little sisters. And I got a phone call from a 7th group buddy of mine that was like, hey man, did you hear about Nick? And I was like, no, what happened? He's like, he committed suicide this past weekend. And it caught me so off guard. I'd spoken to him 2 weeks prior and he's super upbeat. Oh man, everything's going great. This is what I got going. He never let on or, we stayed in contact pretty regularly, but 2 weeks prior, we had a whole conversation. I tried to kind of dig a little bit and it passed the smell test to me, and I'm like, why did he not trust me enough? What did I do you can beat yourself up. At the end of the day, I want to know that I did everything possible, but I think the way to do it is to get people to understand that it's not a weakness. No one thinks that you're weak when you tear your ACL.
Yeah.
No one is like, oh, that he's a terrible at football. He tore his ACL. So that's how you know he's a punk. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just, that's how anatomy works.
Just another injury.
Yeah.
It is just, it's a different injury.
Yeah. And that's really what it is. And that's easy for me to sit up here and say. I have also been in the same boat of, no, I don't want to tell this guy. I don't want to be a burden to him. I don't want to, no, I'm sure I'll get through it. I don't want him to, bother him. I get that all the time. I have buddies that tell me, hey, don't do that. And then I do it. I've kind of built a thing now that every time I feel that feeling, I'm going to make the phone call regardless. I don't want to live with that. But also I think it helps break it down of hey, this is the way this works is when you feel that feeling, call anyways, call in spite of that. But yeah, I I have had legitimate reasons to be just completely destroyed and to be suicidal. And it would have made sense to me. But right then at that time, it didn't make sense at all. I couldn't put it together.
What was it that finally gave you the ability to see that one, you belonged in that kitchen with your wife and kids to love you the way they do, and that you were worth being in that family environment?
I think this was Sydney that told me this a long time ago about a business deal that we were doing one time, but I use this analogy pretty frequently of like, you know, I was walking into the woods for 18 years. Mm-hmm. I completely neglected. It took me a while. I didn't turn around and just exit the woods on day one. You know what I mean? I had a lot of walking to do, and I'm not out of the woods yet. But I didn't neglect my spirituality and neglect being the man that I should have been, and try to do things all on my own and trying to cope and hide my trauma for 18 years, and then just be like, oh, okay, now I know the secret ingredient, the secret recipe. I just do X, Y, Z, and then I'm better. Success wasn't linear, but I was able to surround myself with guys who have been through that. I mean, guys like Cody Alford, who is an amazing individual, but also he's fought his own demons. Tyler Gray, who's an amazing, hyper intelligent human being. And he's fought his own demons and he's won that fight. I know that he's been exactly where I've been. I know a lot of veterans who wouldn't maybe openly, publicly admit it, their suicidal ideations and whatever. But I know a lot of people who have been through that who are now very successful on the outside world. And so being able to be surrounded by people like that, people that I want to strive to emulate. I mean, it's the same thing. We talked about it earlier that I did in the Marine Corps. I found the group of people that I wanted to be like, and I surrounded myself with those people, and then slowly got closer to achieving what they were achieving. And I think that's the same thing here, is being open to feedback and understanding that being vulnerable and honest about my struggles and my faults, if anything, it only makes me better. It's not a weakness to be hidden. It's something that, just like in jiu-jitsu, you saw yesterday, I have a terrible guard, you know? But like, if I want to get better at guard, I don't just avoid the guard. Yeah. I work on the guard. Well, it's the same thing. If I have these struggles and I have these failures, then find people to hold me accountable. Find people that I can be open and vulnerable and share, hey, this is where I was prior and this is where I worked towards, and this is where I'm at now. And then the other side of that is finding, I really came to realize that I've been trying to fix it all on my own. I've been working on myself for a couple of years of like trying to fix it physically and fix it mentally, going to see a therapist, but I completely neglected the spiritual side of things. I even resented organized religion and kind of just lumped all spirituality in with that. Yeah. So getting back to figuring out what I believe in. Like, I'm not a Christian because my dad raised me to be a Christian. I'm a Christian because I did a lot of studying and a lot of like soul searching and prayer and fasting and like trying to figure out, what do I believe? And I've still not settled on 100% of it, but I did find my Christianity and my faith again. And I do feel like that has done wonders for me. I'm not a perfect Christian. I make mistakes all the time. But understanding that just because I step off the path doesn't make my path worthless. It's just a matter of everybody steps off the path. Right. Okay. Acknowledge it, recognize it early, and get back on the path as soon as possible.
The amazing thing with that is no matter how far off you are on the path, you're always one step back. Yep. It's always one step. You think you're so far away, but it's really just one step back to get back.
Shame will keep you from going to ask for forgiveness. The shame is not the condemnation, not conviction. You know, that's what I struggle with a lot, which is it's very similar to that negative voice that's telling me, you're gonna abuse this this gift of going back to ask for it. You enjoyed that sin that you just committed. You know, but that's a difficult thing for me. And some days I'm like, no, that's crazy. That shouldn't bother me. I know that it says in the word of God, this, and this, but most days that's not the case for me. That's a struggle that I have is trying to feel like an authentic Christian.
We still got to get you out to, I know we talked about it, got to get you out to Mighty Oaks for a week.
Oh, dude, I would love it.
Drag Cody with you too.
I would love it. Yeah.
I want to get Cody. I told Cody, and I think I told you too, like, if you guys go, I'm going to go up there when you guys go.
Dude, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, hearing you talk, like, it seems like you really grasp the concept, what we're talking about here, through resiliency, having that, mental, physical, social, like the right network, right? Surround yourself with the right people and spiritual pillars for resiliency. How does Core Medical Group tie in the transitioning people to become more resilient and moving forward?
So Core Medical Group is a hormone replacement therapy company. What they do is they do a super in-depth blood work right off the bat. It's like a 27 or 28 panel blood work test that they do to look at every marker. I mean, I tell people all the time, it's like more like a checking under the hood, seeing how everything goes.
It's for everyone, right? Not just for veterans.
Everybody.
I know Jay Stone, a friend of mine, Robertson.
Yeah.
He goes there.
Yep. Yeah. I know his patient coordinator, but it's for all walks of life. And what it is coming in to optimize your hormones, especially with, most of us are living, humanity itself is living life a lot differently than what we have lived it historically. Because of that, we're seeing a massive drop in hormones. Even women at a very young age have been taking birth control that's been shutting down their hormones and messing with their hormones for many, many years. And then they come off of it, they have a kid, their hormones go berserk again. And then sometimes they get back that like off and on of different medications and suppressing your hormones and all those things, man, it turns into it. And now they're putting, there's a lot of hormones and steroids in the meat and the food that we eat. Some of the food that we're eating is not even, it's just made in a lab. People are living more and more a sedentary lifestyle. Like even if you go and work out and you're healthy and go to the gym for 2 hours, what are you doing the rest of the, 22 hours of the day? We're living more and more like a sedentary lifestyle. And so it's turned into this plummeting trend of natural production of hormones in Western society for sure. One of the things that I tell people all the time, there's a stigma attached to hormone replacement therapy. I think for males, especially because it's directly tied to sex, right? And so everybody wants to be like, oh, yeah, my sex is just fine, my dick works just fine. But anytime you tie that there's going to be a tie up with ego. At the end of the day, I went at a very, very young age. I only went to get my blood work done because my captain was like, hey, 3 guys went and got their blood work done. They were all low in testosterone. I want to take the whole team. And I was like 18 Bravo working on computer work, which is terrible. And so I'm like, using my 2 fingers to type. And I was like, me leave desk to get blood, not do computer. He's like, yeah. So I genuinely just went because I was like, oh, it gets me out of the work that I was having to do today. I got my blood work done and at the time I was like 240. I was really big, powerlifting. I was competing in a lot of things. And he was like, look, man, I'm going to apologize. When you came in, I thought you were just here to abuse steroids, is what I thought. Like you're here to try to get free testosterone or whatever. He was like, your testosterone is lower than my wife's. He's like, this, at like whatever it was, 26 years old, your testosterone is lower than my wife's. He's like, this should not, I don't know how you're getting out of bed every morning.
What number was it? Do you remember?
I was 150-ish, 180, something like that. I can't remember. It was under 200 for sure. But I was so confused because I thought that would mean that I wouldn't be able to perform sexually. And I was. I genuinely had no complaints on my sexual performance. But the biggest thing to me, the biggest thing that I noticed when I got on hormone replacement therapy was the cognitive performance. Yeah. The brain fog that I was experiencing. So I had, they're doing a lot of things. Dr. Frey is doing a lot of work. Dr. Lipov, there's a lot of, great doctors out there now that are doing, like Dr. Frey is doing the operator syndrome and going through like traumatic brain injuries and what that does to your endocrine system and to your pituitary gland and your ability to produce hormones. Living in the stressful environments that we live in and the moral issues that we get into, a lot, moral dilemmas that we find ourselves in a lot, and kind of living in that area, it leads to things that completely disrupt and dysregulate your hormones. One of the things is I should have never been a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. I didn't have a testosterone problem until, I don't remember what that was, 10 or 12 years into my military career. And I didn't know the signs and symptoms. I didn't see the signs and symptoms. But once I got on hormone replacement therapy, I was like, oh, that was just a gradual decline for me. I didn't notice the drop off. I didn't notice that I was working way harder in the gym to get minimal results. I didn't realize that I was struggling to like be attentive and be cognizant and be focused at work. I didn't realize that all of those things came from a hormonal imbalance that I was not regulating. Right. And one of the things we've been doing a lot of work with the VA and with the Department of War, trying to reach the not just the veteran community, but also the active duty service member community. Because, man, if you come to a doctor with an insulin deficiency, right, they have no problems prescribing you insulin. But if for whatever reason in the military, if you have a testosterone deficiency, they're like, oh, he just wants to do steroids.
But the numbers are there, right? Like
that's not the
150.
case. Yeah.
Like I'm supposed to be at 800, 750, 800. But if it's 150, that's not a desire for abuse. That's just to be put in a norm.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get back to normal.
Yeah.
And so when you shift that, when you can get rid of that stigma and make it more acceptable, to talk about, hey, this year, what this administration is doing, they've done some incredible things. They just removed the black box on testosterone. I've heard doctors say all kinds of crazy things that don't specialize in hormones, say all kinds of crazy things about taking testosterone is going to kill you. It's going to give you
cancer, all this stuff.
Well, we're proving that the data shows that was all of those studies were done. They were based on a lie that testosterone is not going to kill you. It's going to help you, especially if you're out of balance.
It's kind of the other argument is that it would be considered longevity medicine.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it heals so many other things. Like Core Medical. There's a couple of other. I've had Brigham on here from Waste to Well. Eric Stoffers from BioAccelerator Reduced Stem Cell Therapy. I had just had a Dr. Cap on here from Fountain Life. Awesome. All of you guys are doing some amazing things, and one of the commonalities that I've seen with all the companies is that they're actually getting a seat at the table in DC with RFK there, with the Department of War opening up to this, the VA with Doug Collins there. Everybody's getting a seat at the table, and I intend to spend a lot of time moving forward with the administration to try to make sure that we clear the path to get this treatment available to our troops.
We've had a lot of success with working with this administration. It has been, and Sydney, our CEO, he's very passionate about, I've never met a guy that's not a veteran who gives back to veterans like what he does. But man, he has been passionate about trying to get in the door at the VA and trying to get in with the military for 16 years.
Yeah.
And now we're finally getting that traction and we're starting to get things and move forward. We have an organization with the U.S. military that we're getting an ability to do like 5,000 person beta where we're going to be able to take them and do some research and do some data and do a white paper on hormone replacement therapy there. But the VA even is doing studies. So, and this is a major thing for the foundation itself.
This is for Core Medical.
The Core Medical Core Medical Foundation,
which is, and the purpose of that is to be able to get active duty service members and veterans that care without having to pay for it.
And there's a lot of research behind the military side of things. I will say that the same stressors, the same environment, the same circumstances apply to military, to law enforcement, to first responders. You want to talk about seeing some terrible things, go talk to a paramedic.
Oh yeah.
That's seen little children get ripped apart in these car accidents. And there's no lack of trauma. Nobody gets a trauma trophy. I'm not trying to.
Yeah,
so
veterans certainly don't have a monopoly on, on trauma.
Yeah.
I know sometimes they think they do, but they don't.
They don't. But that's one of the things is opening it up to not just the military, the veterans, but also to the first responders and law enforcement.
Same in Mighty Oaks, by the way. We do.
Yeah,
we treat first responders the same.
But the thing is, so the VA did a study, 70% of veterans that commit suicide have a hormone deficiency. So we know there's like a direct correlation to, I mean, if you look at the signs and symptoms of low testosterone, especially when you get into like low testosterone, but your estrogen's still high. So a man is never meant to be estrogen driven. What happens when you get there is you're irrational. Your ability to think rationally goes out the window. You're very, very emotional. That's where you see and experience the extreme mood swings. If you're watching a commercial on TV and you find yourself crying on your couch at night, it's a good indicator that
the old theory of roid rage is not high testosterone, it's high estrogen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That most of the things that people think about and associate through ignorance or lack of education is wrong. It's all like, oh, well, roid rage is when that's when you take testosterone. Right. It's like, no, roid rage is when you take testosterone, you don't take anything to combat the estrogen. Yeah. But they're tied together. If I increase my testosterone to here, then my estrogen will eventually rise. And it'll catch up with, if not surpass, my testosterone. And so, and I'm not a doctor, man. I'm not one of our medical providers. But the research that we're doing is showing that. And that was one of the things, was going up to DC and being able to say, hey, okay, so 70% of veterans that commit suicide have a hormone deficiency. And we've started a foundation that's working to combat that and raising the money to donate this to veterans and first responders. But they didn't just get out and have a hormone problem. You know, like it didn't start the day they got out. It started while they were in. What are we doing to combat that? What about the people that are, going to a doctor to get this, and then SOCOM tells them, well, you have to have this waiver to go on a deployment. We don't have time to get that. We're going to take you off these meds. They're damaging their body. They're really putting themselves in a bad place because of the policy at DOD or Department of War now. And we're seeing a lot of reception to changing those policies.
I think that's why I think Pete Hegseth is the right guy. He's open-minded. He understands it. He's not a bureaucrat.
Well, being able to go sit down before people like that, especially, being a veteran themselves and saying, hey, 70% of veterans, this is what we're doing about it on our side. But what are we doing about it while they're in? What are you doing about that now? If you can fix that problem. And the VA also did a 2024 study showing that females on hormone replacement therapy committed suicide at almost half the rate as those who are not on. So we know that there's a direct correlation. I'm not claiming that there's a one-stop shop of, you get your hormones in check and you won't ever commit suicide. I'm a great example of that. I was on hormone replacement therapy and had suicidal ideations. But I didn't commit suicide either. Whether that was through having full access to my rational thought and being in an emotionally stable place. But I don't know. But I do think that what we're doing is making a massive difference. And that's really kind of what our outreach division does. That's what I'm the director there. I try to spearhead as much as I can, getting into the military communities, active duty, trying to get into the VA, and then the different municipalities. So like the law enforcement agencies. And I've done a lot with a bunch of different law enforcement organizations trying to put on events and do free training and do whatever we can. We give back however we can, but the main way that we raise money for is to give for the foundation is to donate that blood work, telehealth, and hormone replacement therapy to veterans and first responders that need it and don't have access.
We'll put in the show notes below. So if you click in the show notes below, we'll have a link to both the core medical group, if people want to get or interested in that kind of therapy, and the foundation, both of them. And I want to do it after this is over. I want to do a Patreon piece so you talk more into hormone therapy, so people could find more information from Colton on our Patreon.
Yeah, and also we're so in last weekend of February, first weekend of March, we're doing our biggest fundraiser of the year for the Core Medical Foundation. It's out in Beaufort, South Carolina. And it's our military appreciation weekend. It'll be our 5th annual. So I
just saw it.
Oh yeah.
I just saw it on it. Yeah.
We'll have a lot of incredible, veterans that'll be there. Guys like Blake Cook is actually going to be there.
Blake's awesome, man.
Yeah, he really is, man. Heart of gold. Of gold.
My gosh, yeah.
But Cody Alford will be there. Nick Kumalatzos, Ray Cash Care will be there. Vincent Vargas will be there. We've got a lot of kind of I don't want to call them veteran influencers.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call them, but
veterans doing great things.
Yeah, veterans doing great things. Those guys will be there.
Yeah.
But we'll have ranges, pistol ranges with those guys. We'll have some rifle ranges. We'll have we're actually this year we're going to auction off and do like a machine gun and low light shoot with a bunch of former special operations guys getting out there and teaching people how to do some machine gun stuff. It's going to be a fantastic time. But 100% of the proceeds go towards the Core Medical Foundation.
And like I said, in the notes below, they could click there for the foundation. And
so, we can put that. I can send you a link for that and get that set up in there. But it's open to the public. Anybody can come. We'd love to receive support for that. The more money that we raise, the more veterans that we can change.
Yeah, I want to talk to you offline about, because I'm a big I'm a big believer, probably as passionate as you are about this. And I'm passionate about hormone therapy as well. I'm probably equally as passionate with stem cell therapy down with Bio Accelerator down in Columbia, which we've gotten a lot of guys down there. So I really want to talk to you and maybe some guys at Core about if there's any synergy there.
Yeah, I would love to. I can definitely get you contact with Sydney and see what we can do there.
Yeah, that's just
I've seen you posting videos and stuff going down there. It's
changed my life. It's totally. I know it really has. I mean, I feel at 50, I feel like 35 right now. Yeah, I really do. Like,
that's awesome.
Feels so good, and it's over the last 3 years of going down there. They do. I went to Fountain Life because Fountain Life does kind of similar what you guys do at Core for me, and they look at your biological age, and so I did a biological age test, and my biological age went from my calendar age of 50 in the last 3 years of 4 treatments of stem cell. From physically, I'm at 36, so I knocked 14 years off, and for my brain function, I'm at 32.
Yeah, I think I'd just be embarrassed to take that test. You know?
Yeah.
No, I'd rather not people know
like
that.
Older. Your brain's like older than your. No, it's amazing though. In 3 years of stem cell therapy,
that's incredible.
And 4 treatments.
Well, man, we were talking
those kind of numbers off.
We were talking about this last night too, though. Things like BPC 157 and TB 500,
and you guys do all that.
Yeah, we do. So we do. Core Medical Group does not just hormone replacement therapy, but we have the weight loss drugs, your GLP-1s and things, but we also have a wide variety of peptides. Yeah. And I was on the BPC 157 for. I had a bunch of injuries going through my medical retirement. They were trying to do knee replacement surgeries, a hip replacement surgery. They wanted to do fusions in my back. Both my shoulders were jacked. I just had a million stupid injuries that had piled up over 18 years. And so I was on this BPC 157 for tissue repair, but really it made my inflammation go down so much.
It's amazing. It's an amazing drug.
The pain levels that I was feeling every day. But when I did my MRI and finally got documented how terrible my TBIs were, that's when they actually brought it up to me at the Tulane Center for Brain Health of like, hey, their head doctor was like, hey, there's a lot of research on BPC being neuroprotective, helping reverse these things. I was like, hey, I'm on that. And it's still that bad. Yeah. So I ended up calling our providers and I bumped up significantly how much BPC I was taking. And I'm a huge fan of the stem cell. Sydney is a huge fan of the stem cell stuff. And we've worked with some different stem cell places in the past. I was able to go this past year to Tier 1 Pain and get some stem cell done there. I was also able to do like a stellate ganglion block, the SGB. Yeah. And it's crazy because now I'm actually working some with Dr. Lipov who did that. But got to see the benefits of the stem cell, like finally for the first hand. And absolutely blown away. I think there's so much potential in that side of things that you could spend all day doing research on it.
Oh yeah. It is. I mean, look, it's longevity is we're living in a time where changing your longevity is actually possible and doing it in a healthy way.
Not just that, man, being a high performer, if I can get my hormones optimized and I can use peptides to give me this mental edge that I'm getting at work, I'm at the top of my game, and I even if my body's falling apart, I still feel like I can, my mental capacity is coming back a lot from a lot of the TBIs that I had in the past.
Yeah. Man, we'll do some Patreon content on this because
awesome.
I could talk all day on this stuff. But in wrapping up, I know normally we give gifts at the end, but I thought it was pretty significant that Smith & Wesson and Vortex and Gators, our main sponsors. We got BioPro, which I want to get you some BioPro.
Heck yeah.
Have you tried BioPro yet?
I don't think that I have.
So we're gonna get you some BioPro. It's a non-synthetic HGH. It's essentially like Eastern kind of medicine, but modernized to real high quality pharmaceutical grade. I'm
definitely interested.
So I'm gonna get you some BioPro, and then of course we talked about BioAccelerator, our stem cell partner, but since we give every guest a Smith & Wesson firearm, you being an 18 Bravo, like a weapons expert, special force weapon expert, I thought, what kind of gun you're going to want? And you asked for a basic model J-frame revolver, which made me really happy because I think this gun is one of the most effective and efficient EDC guns that you could have.
Yeah.
It's, this is the airweight. It's, absolutely incredible, and I think we like it for all the same reasons. It's easy to carry.
It's like a foolproof. So there's a sliding scale of like competency. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm so excited for this. I've always wanted to own a J-frame. It's more of like a nostalgic gun, or not more of, but it's a nostalgic gun for me just because I have some experiences with it. But one of the things is there's a level of training that, like, this is a gun that it doesn't take a lot of training to use effectively.
Right.
It's the ultimate get off me gun. I don't have to worry about the hammer getting snagged on something or it not being able to function because the hammer's blocked. There is no hammer. Mm-hmm. And it's like we were talking about, it's a very heavy trigger pull. It's really the only safety. Mm-hmm. So I could throw this thing in my pocket and responsibly carry. But if somebody gets on my back, I can pull it out of my pocket and get a shot off and get them off me. It's a get off me gun.
Yeah.
And it's super small. It's super slim. It's not too heavy. And it's not necessarily the best gun to take to the range and shoot all day long. But
when you consider most gunfights going to be 3 rounds, 3 seconds, 3 feet away.
Yeah. A self-defense gun, it is especially one if you don't have the time to put into, the Navy SEAL level, time at the range. You're not a Green Beret, but you want to get a carry gun. This is a fantastic one. My real come into contact with these was teaching a course with the RCTA. I was Regional Counter Drug Training Academy, and I was having to do a bunch of advanced.
That's in Mississippi, right?
It is.
I've been there. I've taken a bunch of classes there.
They provide congressionally funded, but free to the law enforcement agencies and officers, free training to law enforcement. And so we got to go in, and it was like a 20th Special Forces group. So my company was based out of Mississippi. So we kind of took over that training detachment, and it was like a rotation of whenever we weren't deployed. It was an ODA in Mississippi, middle of nowhere, really, Mississippi, training like 3,000 or 5,000 cops a year and getting to be like, hey, I see this error coming up all the time in cops. I keep addressing it. We need to make a school or a course based on that. And then our higher ups would take that to Congress. I'd write the POI and they'd take it to Congress, get it approved. We'd come back and then I'd start to teach it. Well, one of those courses that I designed was, we couldn't call it advanced, but it's concealed carry for undercover work. It's like a UC concealed carry course that we did. And this is the one I was like, a lot of these guys were carrying revolvers as backups. And I was like, hey man, all of my experience comes from semi-automatic pistols, or 1911 or a Glock or a SIG or, well, I had this old retired undercover legend be like, well, come on out. I'll trade you. You teach me how to shoot modern guns and I'll teach you how to shoot, wheel guns. And man, this dude just took me out and schooled me up. And I really fell in love with how sick it was for him to like run this pistol really, really well. And it took me a lot of time. I was terrible at revolvers getting started. But it just built a love and respect for it, especially the history of kind of what these things have done. So I'm super excited about it, man. I really.
We were talking earlier, like if we get in a fight and I grab it, if you can still squeeze that trigger, it still goes off. If you push against somebody's body and pull the trigger, it's not going to go out of battery. You
take, an amazing Glock 19 as the SOCOM contracts, you know what I mean? But you take that gun out and you press it against something, the slide will go out of battery. It cannot fire. There's nothing. You have to get that contact off in order to get that shot off. A lot of times we see, especially being like a SOCP instructor, a special operations combatives program instructor, where we're putting people with sim guns into those situations. I see it all the time where I'm fouling. People often get off one round and then it gets fouled up and then now we're fighting for that pistol.
They have to clear malfunction to fighting over.
Yeah. And I'm like, thank you for bringing my gun to the gunfight, as the bad guy in the scenario.
Yeah. Even if you do have a malfunction with this gun, which would be a primer, right?
Yeah.
It would be an anomaly, or it'll be the primer, it'd be a bad round, right? So all you do is pull the trigger again.
Yeah.
And you pull it again and you pull it again.
Yep. Just repeat. Yeah. But the other thing is the slide is not going out of battery. This little very short barrel can be firmly pressed into your opponent and you can pull the trigger and it'll go off and they're going to get off you eventually. But like you were saying, even if someone gets a hand on it, as long as my finger can
still pull that trigger.
Yep. Pull the trigger. It will cycle and it will rotate and it will activate.
And when it's all done, it makes a hell of a club.
Yeah. Yeah. and the old, old school assassin guys are talking about, it not leaving shell casings and all kinds of, so there's a lot of nostalgic things, especially on the undercover and then the intelligence world. Revolvers have always had a really cool place. So, I love this gun. I'm very excited to have it.
Yeah. We can't put a vortex on it, but we'll get you some binos or rangefinder or something like that.
Awesome.
And one other thing. So this is a kind of a Christmas gift from Andrew Obito.
Oh, wow.
Arabito or Andrew Obito. We, from Half Face Blades. These are his folders. So Half Face Blades makes the best blades. They're amazing. And this is his new folder. We got a Resilient logo. You're the first person to get one. There you go.
Man,
Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Man, I love Half Face Blades. I don't own any of their knives and I've always wanted one. So this is very cool. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. And thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely. And one last gift. So, you've wrote me after I gave you the early copy of Silent Horizons, book 1, and I was wanting some guys with soft experience to read and kind of pick it apart. And you talked about how much you love it. You loved it, and really, it's just some great compliments, especially even passing it around. But we have I just got this from the publisher. This is not a real book. This is they made the cover look good for me. This is my prototype of what the book 2 of the Silent Horizons series is, and it's called Riptide. It's available for pre-sale right now, but this is me and Jack Stewart got this from the publisher. So every time I get one of these, I always want to make sure that I gift to pay it forward to somebody. So out of appreciation to how much the great compliment you gave to book 1, I'm going to gift this one to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And for those of you who haven't read Silent Horizons, make sure you go out and get it. It's been a long time since I've read a fiction book. Just for entertainment purposes. I read a lot of nonfiction. But man, I tore through this book. It is absolutely incredible. I couldn't put it down. It was very well written. I just thank you for sharing it with me. I haven't shared a book like that in a while. So it was really awesome when you gave it to me. I know I texted you back. I think I read it in like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I could not put it down. So if you haven't gotten that book, I recommend you go read it. I'm very excited to read Riptide, man.
Yeah. I'm really happy with Riptide. And then we've already written book 3. Book 3's done.
Oh,
so now it's just to
suspense.
How to roll them out. Well, man, it was awesome to have you out.
Thank you.
And look forward to, I want to talk more about the core medical and just how we continue to work together. And another teaser before we get off, Colton came through Cody to be on Shadow Figures, which we hadn't talked a lot about Shadow Figures yet, but if you guys don't know, I can't stay aware yet, but Shadow Figures is our a mystery conspiracy show where I host it and put together teams of special operations veterans to go uncover some of the most notorious conspiracies and mysteries in our country. And so every episode I put together a different team, and you're in how many of the episodes? Three of the episodes.
3 episodes.
So and they're good episodes.
Dude, the show is going to be fantastic, and I'm very excited for it to come out. But the amount of fun that I had,
so much fun
being there and working with you guys, it was a blast. And every time I was like on the flight home, I'm like, dude, my abs are sore from laughing so hard.
Especially when we were Cody.
Oh, dude, anytime me and Cody are together, I feel like we feed off of each other. But I mean, even when Cody wasn't there, and I was like, oh man, I'm not going to know anybody going into this one.
Oh yeah.
The people I got to meet,
you and Joey,
Dennis, Dennis. Joey, dude, incredible people. And it was just so cool to show up to an environment and everybody just immediately click and have a blast. I got to meet really good people. I mean, Dennis will be a friend of mine for forever until time ends. Joey will too, but I absolutely loved it, man. The people I got to meet, thank you for letting me be a part.
Oh yeah, man. We're looking forward to season 2, season 3 and beyond. But I can't wait to you guys where it's got a home. And it's going to be available for everyone. It was wild, and I'm looking forward to the future. To, like I said, season 2, I want to keep it going. I have so many things I want to dig into with the show. So,
yeah, dude, I'm excited about it.
Right on, man. Well, hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Please, if you liked the episode, throw a like on it, share it for someone else, and leave a comment for Colton down in the comment section. If you have not done so, subscribe. Also, go to Patreon, join our Patreon. It's one of the best ways you can support the show. You can do it for as little as $5 a month and get early access to these episodes, commercial free, and get access to extra content like we're about to record with Colton on Core Medical Group and some of the work he does there. So God bless, guys, and stay tuned till next week. Stay resilient. Hey, what's up, Resilient family? I am so grateful for each of you who tune in every week to hear our episodes. We have such incredible guests and topics that I am passionate about, our team's passionate about, and we could not do it without you. So we're thankful for you. We love you. We appreciate you locking arms with us to be more informed, to become a more resilient community. And I want to invite you to become a tighter part of that community by joining us on Patreon. If you go to our show notes below, you can click the link and get dialed into our Patreon and get extra content weekly. You can join for $15 a month and get behind the scenes footage, get closer access to me. I have monthly Zooms that I'll be doing with some members of the community. And so we'd love to get more involved. Again, go below in the show notes and click the link and join today.